company called Paddlogger about 4.5, nearly 5 years ago now. I did not have a background in space. I did not have a background in technology. I don't know how to code. I am, to all intents and purposes, not really the kind of person to have gone about building a mobile app. As has just been mentioned, I think everyone's got one of these, and they're super powerful. There is a huge amount you can do with a mobile phone, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, really, because we use the technologies that have been kind of developed with companies like Avanti putting satellites up, and the technologies that they bring down with telecommunications, and use those in our everyday lives. So we're what we call a downstream application. So we don't actually send stuff to space, which is probably a good thing because I am not technical, as previously mentioned. I also, for the last year and a half or so, have been working with the University of Exeter's Cornwall campus down here over in Falmouth as an enterprise educator. So what we do is we help students who've got business ideas to develop them and kind of start their own enterprise from what is just a simple solution to a problem. So I kind of wanted to incorporate a little bit of that into the next kind of 20-25 minutes or so, and I think that'd be really useful with you guys going forward for your brief. The first thing I want to say, actually, be curious, right? Think about things and ideas and problems that you've got in your everyday lives, however big or small, and just be inventive and curious, and ideas will fall out of that, and I'll kind of come on to that in a second. First of all, I've got a bit of a question. What is innovation? Does anyone have any ideas? I've got a couple of up here myself, but does anyone want to just shout them out?
Come on, guys.
Come on, it's Tuesday morning. It's nearly lunchtime. You've got to be awake now. Anyone? Finding a new solution to a problem. Great. Yeah. So creating something new. So invention. Anything else? Yes.
Adjustment of an actual thing now to fit a different problem.
Brilliant. Okay. So between those two, we're kind of coming into my first, which is a really kind of mathematical idea, I suppose. Innovation. So invention, creating something new, and having an opportunity and a market or an opportunity for commercialization. There's no use in creating something awesome and wicked that you think, but you're the only person who's going to use it, because commercially that's not going to be a success. So that's the first one. The second one is, I was listening to a talk from a guy from Japan, Professor Hori, saying that innovation is future common sense. So he was telling me a story about the Sony Walkman. Does anyone know what a Sony Walkman is? Okay. So when the Sony Walkman was invented, there were things called tape recorders, and in Sony's department of innovation department, I suppose, they went, how can we make a new product? So they took the record button off a tape recorder to record radio programs. So it just had a play. And then all of a sudden they could make the product smaller and wearable and portable, so you could go out and listen to music whilst you're in your everyday going. There's a great advert of a dude in the 70s on roller skates, it's wicked, kind of playing around on a Sony Walkman. But now, I guess, and you guys have all grown up with the idea of listening to music every day, just kind of in your everyday lives. And it'd be common sense for us now. We wouldn't think of not listening to the radio in the car, not going for a run with kind of headphones in, and that technology has really come on. So I just wanted to kind of give you a couple of ideas around kind of creating something new. Innovation and iteration is as good as invention, right? We've had that as an idea already, because actually there are very, very few unaddressed problems. To create something completely new and novel is very, very rare and very, very difficult, because pretty much a lot of stuff's already been invented. And existing solutions, it's worth bearing in mind, can help validate your market. What I mean by that is coming back to your opportunity and commercialization. If there's already a solution out there to a problem that's being used by people, there might be reasons, it shows you there's people who have the same problem, and there also might be lots of reasons why that solution isn't good enough or can be improved, and then you've got a gap in the market. What's next? Cool. So that was my general businessy bit. So paddle logger. I want to start with talking about a problem. I absolutely love the idea of getting away from technology and being disconnected and de-stressing and not having to listen to emails, to not being contacted by text messages, to not have Facebook notifications or Snapchat notifications or whatever. And I want to go out on the water. I'm a stand-up paddleboarder. That's my thing. Been doing that for years. And I want to get out on the water and be safe out there as well. If I go out for a 10k paddle offshore and the wind suddenly changes, despite being disconnected and wanting that disconnection, I also want to be able to speak to people and say, I'm in trouble, please come get me, I'm on my way to France. So that's the problem I had personally. And if you're a runner, if you're a cyclist, if you do land-based sports, there are lots of really cool solutions out there. There are mobile apps. So have you heard of something called Strava? Map My Run, Map My Ride, Map My Fitness, Map My other land-based sport. There's lots of stuff out there. There's Garmin watches and specific GPS products for navigation and also for health and fitness tracking. But for water sports, there's not really anything, or there wasn't really anything at the time. Stuff wasn't designed for use on the water. Or it was just super expensive and out of my budget. So rather than spending a couple of £100 on something that I could use there and then, I spent all my savings building a business that, but I built something for me. So the idea about risks is the water sports carry very different risks to land-based sports as well. So I was taking a previous solution to a problem and a market and just changing it slightly and iterating on that and innovating to create my solution. Oh, that should have been really slick. There we are, thank you. So this is the app. It's a mobile app. It's an affordable tracking service using your smartphone. So all the technology you already have in your pockets today, built from the ground up by water users for water users. So very much for a specific market. And when we designed this product, we went, right, okay, what problems do I have? I have cold, wet hands, so I want a big button. If you've ever tried to use a smartphone screen after you've got out of the shower or got out of the sea, it's a bit of a nightmare. And we use, and this is a tracking app, right? So your phone is connected to the internet, satellites, and it just tracks where you've been. And it's super simple. And it's just a downstream application of satellite technology. The next thing, I suppose, and in doing that, that's all kind of come about from just a problem I had without really any experience, without really any kind of knowledge of what space tech was and is. And then you start to learn, okay, these are the problems. There's lots of potential capabilities of this information and lots of information that you can get from space-derived data. And continuing on the business theme, we had a look at the opportunity and what the market is. So we were having a chat earlier, actually, that water sports in the US versus the UK, 34 million versus 17 million. There's just some numbers that we go, okay, there are lots of people that do water sports. There's lots of people that have the same issues that want to know how far they've been. There's lots of people that have been doing paddle sports. There's lots of people that use Strava. There's lots of people that want to remain connected. There's lots of people that have the same problem. And if I'm driving home like an idea here, it's that idea of understanding a problem and that there's a market fit to that problem. And space tech has enabled me to, I guess, reach all of these people. That number there, for if you're at the back, that's kind of, we're looking at 2.1 million people participated in water sports last year. I'd love to say we've reached all of those people. We haven't, but we're getting there. And that's the opportunity that just by building a simple product, because to all intents and purposes, it is compared to kind of Avanti, who are putting things into orbit, right? It is a simpler solution, again using devices that people already have. You can reach a lot of people and provide a solution to make their lives better. Have I missed the slide? Oh, no, maybe not. Cool. So I've mentioned space-derived data, downstream space products. You're going to get a brief later on to develop an idea around using technical space things, space systems, I think. Some of the downstream products that we use global satellite navigation systems. So if you've heard of GPS is a constellation of satellites that's owned by the US. There's also Galileo, Beidou, and a couple of others that are owned by different countries in the world. But GNSS is your... Oh, I've written that the wrong way around. GNSS is the overall term. We use satellite imagery. You saw on that slide earlier, there is a trip map that was projected onto Falmouth Harbour, where I went for a paddle, to show me exactly where I've been. We use that when you're using your mobile phone to navigate, GPS in your cars. You have it overlaid over a live trip map. Communications, emails, messaging, social media, it's all using these systems. But then we also can get into some, I guess, kind of more technical stuff and different products from satellites. So I used to work in academia and research, and we used satellite data to look at weather patterns. We used satellite data to look at biodiversity across the country and across a land cover. We use satellites to measure ocean temperature data. We use satellites to measure climate change. So all of these things that we see in the news, say today, we use in our daily lives and kind of impact policy change in government that impact our daily lives, all come via space. So it's really, once you get downstream, it's a really kind of broad spectrum of things that you can start to do. And this list is ongoing. Have a Google, see what you can find. If you've got an idea now, you go, okay, there's a problem that I can see being solved using this or some of these things. Just have a look what else out there is and be creative with that as well. So I've mentioned it already, starting a business. Become experts in the problem. So you've only got a couple of days and a short amount of time. It's plenty. Have an idea about what that problem is that you want to be solving. Who is that audience? Who is that opportunity that you've identified? Find out about them. Find out what they like, what they don't like, how they're going to access you. What are their needs? What are their pain points? Things that they're going to be wanting solved. And then from that, you can come together and kind of go, okay, brilliant. I've had this really cool idea. I've matched it up with the community. I've found out all of this information about the community and actually what their problems are. And maybe their problems are slightly different to the ones that you've assumed. And you can adjust your idea to fit that problem. So you've got a really nice problem solution fit. And once you've got a problem solution fit, then you're kind of onto the money. That's when things become a lot easier and you can start developing into your developing a system, developing a product, and developing your idea further. So, like I said, sometimes it's very, very difficult to come up with completely new ideas. That's not to say you shouldn't. I'm sure young minds, you've got loads of stuff bubbling away and you're very, very curious, and you should be, and you should celebrate that. But one thing to look at and bear in mind is that maybe there are problems in existing solutions. And I've mentioned earlier, so existing solutions can be improved using space data. So who here's heard of Uber? Yeah, cool. So I can't remember how many years ago. So I'm originally from London. If you want to get around, use a black cab. It's great. All the drivers know exactly where they're going. They've all done something called the Knowledge, which is a 3-year test that they have to do to learn every street in London and every location. So you can kind of go to them, I want to go from here to there, and they'll go, right, it's this way, sir, and they'll get on, off you go. Notoriously, because of all of that training that they have to go through, black cabs are expensive. There's always never one around when you need one, and they're always full. So Uber has come along, and it's come out of the US, and they've completely changed the way kind of personal mobility is done. So it now means I can walk out of an office or out of a meeting in a city, look at my phone and go, right, I need to go to somewhere 4 miles away. Type that in. Okay. Immediately, in my immediate vicinity, a load of drivers are getting notifications saying that Dave needs a lift. And they can go, okay, well, I'm going to accept that. They go, I'm going to do that job, and they can come to me and find me instantly. It's also way cheaper as a solution. So I can get to where I'm going faster. So me as a user, I can get to where I'm going faster. I can spend less money. It's reducing friction in the process of doing that. And Uber has kind of blown up all over the world. Because it's using technology, it's really, really scalable. So I've said, I'm a small guy in Cornwall, and in my company there's me and one other person. Yet we can reach potentially 2 million people with our business. And more, right? It's these technology businesses are very, very scalable. And Uber's a really good example of that. They're in loads of countries all over the world. A driver, all they need to do is have a car, sign up to Uber, and they have to pass I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they have to pass some kind of test to say that they are safe to be an Uber driver, and then that's it, and they're employed. So it's even creating work as well. So maybe sometimes think about some solutions that are already out there, things that you do every day that you think, oh, this could be improved massively by a bit of tech, or by I don't even know. That's where you guys need to come in. Like I say, will people pay for your solution? So we went out, and I think this is kind of probably the stage that you guys are going to be getting to towards the end of this week. We went out, we got our solution, we spoke to loads of people, and we basically did a little wireframe. This is the very first version of our app ever made, kind of 4.5 years ago. You can see how it's very, very different to the screenshots I showed you earlier on. Is that good enough that people will pay to have, is that good enough that people will pay to solve the problem, will pay for that product? If the answer is yes, we could move on to actually building it and building a minimum viable product to take to market or take for further investment. If no, okay, we'll be really open to changing it. Don't be so kind of, this is my idea, it's going to work, and kind of force it. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, and that's completely okay. Kind of be led by what the market wants, and satisfy that market. And finally, I think this is a tool that we use. Probably looks at, I don't know if is it. I don't think it's that complicated, but I'll quickly run through it. And it might be something that you might want to think about using later on this week. I think these slides will go round to people as well, so they can be used. But this is a business model canvas. So if you've got an idea, these 9 boxes just really simply just get you to outlay your complete model within about 9 sentences, right? Your value proposition is your business idea, what solution you've come up with. Your customer segment, so who you're going to sell it to, that idea of that market that you've understood and you know about, and you've identified their pain points. Your customer relationships are how you're going to access and develop relationships with those people. The channels, how you're going to sell to those people. Are you going to sell it in a shop? Are you going to sell an app? Is it on an app store? And then everything to the other side, so my side, activities, resources, and partners. It's basically all the things you guys need to do or need to think about that you may need to do to get your business off the ground or get your idea off the ground. So at this stage, it might be, I don't know how to code. I need to get a coder. And that becomes one of your partners. Or I need a designer, or I need to get materials to design something. And then the 2 boxes at the bottom, very simply, are your revenue stream. how you're going to make money, and your cost structure, how much all this may or may not cost. Again, a quick Google can kind of give you some ideas there. But essentially, if the box on the right, if the number in that is bigger than the box on the left, great. And after that, it's very, very simple. And I think that's probably quite a nice tool to use and start to think about things. That's kind of short and sharp, and if anyone's got any questions, do ask them. Like I said at the beginning, be really curious. The opportunities within space and space tech are massive. There's kind of, I was going to say the sky isn't the limit, but that's probably the kind of, there's really lots of opportunity, and technology's changing and growing, and the stuff that was out and available when I started five years ago, some of that's redundant. We're already on to the next new incredible thing, 5G, that's even faster and even making everyone even more connected. Satellite internet that's even connecting people in rural places. So maybe there's something around that. And then the only other thing I'd say as well is I'm a massive believer in kind of inspiration and creativity being born out of your environment and the conversations you have with your peers. So I know you're going for a kind of bit of a walkabout later, and you're forming teams. Just talk about the issues you have, however small, however big, problems that you may have, and just bounce ideas around. And out of that will fall a problem and a solution. I can guarantee it. Even if they're mentally incredibly massive and seem stupid and crazy, once you've spent some time thinking about it and drilling down into it, a really good idea will fall out the bottom. I'm absolutely positive. I'm a really positive person like that. I'm sure it will. So yeah, if anyone does have any immediate questions, shout. Otherwise, I'm around all day, and there'll be a Q&A later on.